You wake up more tired than you were when you went to sleep. No alarms, no distractions. You actually slept a full 8 hours, but your body feels like it fought a war you can't remember. Your chest feels heavy, your heart anxious for no reason. You tell yourself, maybe I'm just stressed. But this isn't just mental. It feels deeper, like something's draining your energy, even when you're doing nothing. And here's the creepy part. Your sleep used to feel safe, peaceful. But lately, you don't even like being in your own room. You've started waking up between 2 to 4 a.m., again and again, like clockwork. That odd chill in the air, that silent heaviness sitting on your chest, and that one object you always forget to move or throw out, still sitting quietly where it's always been. But let's stop brushing it off. Because this video isn't about ghosts or made-up stories, it's about the spiritual reality we're ignoring inside our own homes, especially our bedrooms, the one space we spend the most time in, yet never suspect as the reason our peace is falling apart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This isn't a video to scare you, it's a video to wake you up. Let's walk through the 6 things in your bedroom that may be silently inviting witchcraft, Jinn activity, or unseen harm, without you even realizing it. Some of them are objects, some are habits, some are just pure negligence. And trust me, by the time we reach number 6, you'll never look at your bedroom the same way again. Number 1. Dreamcatchers, talismans, and spiritual decor. It starts off innocent. A friend gifts you a dream catcher for protection, or you buy a wall hanging that says it removes bad energy. Some of these even claim to bring love, peace, or wealth, all wrapped in beautiful colors and positive vibes. But here's the dangerous part. We start depending on them. You begin to feel safer because that item is in your room. And slowly, without even realizing it, you assign power to an object. You believe that Dreamcatcher is stopping nightmares or that talisman is blocking envy. That's where the line gets crossed, because in Islam, protection doesn't come from fabric, beads, or printed symbols. It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Let's be honest. A lot of us grew up seeing our families hang random objects to keep Jinn away. Blue beads, peacock feathers, horseshoes, silver threads. And we never questioned it. But what does it really say about our trust in Allah when we're relying on a thing instead of dua? That's a big deal. It doesn't mean you intended to do shirk. It means the very act of assigning unseen power to a thing, even just out of habit, is spiritually dangerous. And most of these items, their designs come from cultures deeply rooted in paganism, occult beliefs, and ritual magic. You don't know who made it. You don't know what it was originally meant for. But now, it's hanging above your head at night, and you think it's just decoration. Here's what most people never tell you. Spiritual harm doesn't always come through grand rituals. It often sneaks in quietly, as aesthetics, trends, or harmless gifts. You might not even believe in them, but by allowing them into your space, they affect your energy. They normalize dependency on something other than Allah. And that's exactly how spiritual corruption begins. So go ahead and beautify your space. But make sure your decor isn't pulling your heart away from Tawheed. The most powerful protection doesn't hang on a wall. It's whispered in your doers and lived through your obedience. Number 2. Used or thrifted decor with unknown history. You found it at a garage sale. Or maybe it was a too-good-to-be-true steal on Facebook Marketplace. A candle holder that looked antique. A mirror with a carved wooden frame. A painting with just the right touch of mystery. You didn't think twice. It was aesthetic, cheap, and gave your room character. Right? But here's what no one talks about. Not everything people give away is just old. Sometimes, it's haunted by more than dust. In the age of minimalism, it's trendy to thrift. We love the story behind things. A vintage clock, an old chair, a rustic lamp. But in many cases, we bring these things into our rooms without knowing a single thing about where they've been, who used them, what was done with them, or worse, what was done to them. Islam doesn't require us to fear every object, but it does teach us that the unseen world is real. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it clear. Indeed, the jinn spread out and snatch what they can. So shut the doors and mention Allah's name. For indeed the shaitan does not open a door that is closed, and Allah's name has been mentioned over. Now think about that. If closing your door without mentioning Allah's name invites shaitan, what about bringing in an entire object that might have been used in some kind of sihr or stored in a house where Allah was never remembered? You don't know who previously owned it. Maybe they practiced dark arts. Maybe they did rituals over it. Or maybe they had constant fights, depression, spiritual darkness, and that object was part of it. Yet here you are, sleeping inches away from it, placing your prayer mat next to it, letting it sit on your shelf like just another prop, while something unseen sits with it. And here's the subtle part. It doesn't have to move or talk or make your lights flicker. Sometimes its effect is quieter. You feel anxious in your room for no reason. You start having strange dreams. You begin snapping at loved ones or struggling to focus during salah. You wake up already drained, as if your own room is rejecting your energy. This isn't superstition. This is spiritual sensitivity, and Islam acknowledges it. That's why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us powerful protections like Ayatul Kursi before sleep, to shield not just your soul, but your space. So here's what you do. If you have any object in your room that gives you a bad feeling, trust that. You don't need a jinn to introduce itself to know something's wrong. Recite over it. Cleanse it with decor. Or better, if it continues to feel off, let it go, because peace in your room is more precious than any second-hand bargain. You thought you just brought home a chair, but maybe you brought home someone else's spiritual baggage. Or worse, their curse. Number 3, crystals and energy stones. I didn't believe in it at first. It usually starts small. A friend gives you one, or you pick one up at a store without thinking too much. Rose quartz for love, amethyst for peace, maybe obsidian for protection. You're not into energy stuff, or at least that's what you tell yourself. It just looked nice. But the more you see it online, the candles, the moonlight rituals, the soft music and self-care vibes, something shifts. You start wondering, what if it works? And that's when the door opens. Not physically, spiritually. What used to be a harmless stone is now something you start associating with control. Healing your heartbreak, calming your panic, bringing someone closer to you. But here's the truth, no influencer will tell you. When you start placing your hopes in something created, even just slightly, you begin detaching your heart from the Creator. And once your trust leaves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even for a moment, Shaitan doesn't need a big opening. He only needs a crack. And you feel it. Not in a loud horror movie way, but in a subtle shift. You used to cry in dua. Now you just go through the motions. You used to feel peace from Quran. Now it feels distant. You start blaming your iman when deep down, you know you've allowed foreign beliefs into your heart. Let's make it clear, Islam doesn't reject nature. But Islam draws a red line when nature is worshipped, relied upon, or treated like a source of power. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us clearly, whoever wears an amulet has committed shirk. And no, crystals aren't technically amulets, but ask yourself honestly, if you're holding it, hoping it'll protect you, heal you, or bring someone back, isn't that the same? Islam teaches us to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every kind of healing, emotional, spiritual, physical. And when Allah heals you, He doesn't need a moon cycle, a vibration, or a charging ritual. So next time someone says, "It's just a rock," ask yourself, if it's just a rock, why is everyone expecting it to do things only Allah can do? Number 4. Hidden symbols in art and decor that invite darkness. You bought it because it looked aesthetic. Minimalist lines, bold colors, maybe a statue you thought would give your room a vintage touch. You didn't even notice the symbol on its chest, or the weird pattern woven into the rug, or the eye painted into the background of that one canvas. And even if you did, it's just art, right? It doesn't mean anything. But here's the part no one likes to hear. Not everything cool is spiritually neutral, and not everything decorative is innocent. A lot of modern home decor, especially what's trending on social media or found in thrift stores, bazaars, or tourist shops, carries symbols rooted in pagan rituals, occult meanings, or spiritual ideologies that have nothing to do with Islam, and everything to do with unlocking energies or spirits we were explicitly told to stay away from. You ever notice how things start to feel heavier after you bring something home? Sleep gets worse. Weird arguments happen for no reason. You feel more irritable, anxious, spiritually distant, but you blame stress, or maybe the lighting, or your own iman. Yet deep down, you sense it, that something isn't right. And here's the truth. Shaitan doesn't need an open invitation. He only needs you to stop being cautious, to stop questioning, to stop remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you shop. And once you let your guard down, even if it's just a cool statue or artsy piece, you've already cracked the door. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Indeed, the plot of Shaitan is ever weak." Weak, but not invisible. That's what makes it dangerous. Most people won't notice the hand signs carved into their wall art, the inverted stars or ancient talismans embedded in a statue's design. But the ones who do, and still ignore it, are playing with something they don't understand. This isn't about becoming paranoid or scared of everything you own. It's about becoming conscious. Let's be real. No room is worth compromising your peace. Not for vibes, not for style, not for a painting that looks expensive but invites the exact thing you've been trying to make dua against. So if you're constantly asking why your home doesn't feel light anymore, maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe it's what you allowed in. Number 5. Journals and manifesting books. The law of attraction. Trap. It starts off innocent enough. You walk into a bookstore and see a beautiful journal with "You Are the Magic" printed in gold on the cover. Or maybe you're scrolling on TikTok and someone's raving about scripting their dream life, writing affirmations like "I attract abundance" or "My soulmate is already on the way." It doesn't sound wrong. In fact, it sounds peaceful, hopeful, like you're just setting intentions and speaking things into existence. But here's the part no one tells you. The moment you start believing your pen controls the universe, you've already crossed a dangerous line. Because you're no longer placing your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're placing it in yourself. You start writing, "I will be rich by 25. I'm calling in my perfect partner. Everything I want is coming to me because I deserve it." And at first, it gives you a high. You feel empowered, in control, like your life finally has a shape. But over time, that spiritual confidence turns into dependency. If you forget to journal one night, you feel off. If something bad happens, you wonder, did I manifest this by mistake? See the problem? This isn't goal setting, it's spiritual bypassing. The core of the law of attraction says, you attract what you are. But Islam teaches, you are what you choose for Allah's sake, whether it comes to you or not. Big difference. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and your Lord says, call upon me, I will respond to you. Notice, Allah didn't say, write it into the universe. He said, call upon me, That one ayah dismantles the entire self-centered foundation of manifesting. Because in Islam, dua isn't about commanding the universe to obey you. It's about surrendering to the one who created it. But here's where it gets even more dangerous. A lot of these journals include rituals. Light this candle. Repeat this affirmation 33 times. Fold the paper and sleep with it under your pillow. That's not self-help. That's literally a modernized, marketable form of sihr, using spiritual forces outside of Allah's permission to attract something. And the scariest part, most people don't even know they've entered that zone, because no one warns them, because the packaging is pink, because the fonts are soft, because it feels empowering. But when you start depending on your words, your crystals, your routines, instead of sincere tawakkul and consistent prayer, you've handed your power over to a lie. A pretty one, but still a lie, and eventually it stops being empowering and starts making you anxious, because now every unanswered prayer feels like a failure on your part. But Allah never asked you to script the future. He asked you to trust Him when it's delayed, to turn to Him when it's dark, to keep praying even when the page feels blank. So if your journal no longer brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but instead deeper into superstition, maybe it's time to shut it, say Bismillah, and start over. Not with a spell, not with a sentence, but with sincere, open dua, the kind that doesn't need to rhyme, only to reach. Number 6. Dolls and human-like figures in the room. There's something deeply unsettling about a doll just staring back at you from the corner of the room. At first, it seems innocent. A soft toy on a child's shelf, a porcelain face sitting behind a glass showcase. Maybe even a collector's item passed down from a grandparent. But ask yourself, why does it make the room feel heavier? Why does it seem like someone else is watching? You're not imagining it. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't speak in metaphors when he said something very specific. The angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or images of living beings. Now pause. Think about that. You're begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for mercy, for protection, for barakah. You leave your prayer mat in the corner, but in the same room, there's a lifelike doll sitting on a shelf, or a stuffed animal with eyes, nose, mouth, resembling a human. Sometimes even a framed painting of a human or creature. This isn't superstition. This is a clear condition from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Certain things physically block the presence of angels. And when angels leave, something else fills the space. For some families, it's subtle, a constant heaviness in the house. Restlessness in sleep, arguments between siblings that escalate without reason, a sense of pressure on your chest when you pray. And no matter how much zikr you do, the room doesn't feel clean. Why? Because the physical presence of something forbidden is still standing in that room, day and night. You might say, "It's just a doll for my daughter. It makes her feel safe." But what if that false sense of comfort is keeping her from the real comfort that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can send through His mercy? And what's worse, some of these dolls, especially the older or thrifted ones, are embedded with strange stories and in some cultures even used in ritual practices before being sold second-hand. There have been cases where families began noticing whispers, dreams, or unexplained events. And it all traced back to one object in the house that nobody thought twice about. You don't need to burn the doll or do anything extreme, but you do need to make a decision. Will you allow something in your home that literally repels the angels away? This isn't about fear-mongering. It's about finally seeing your home the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees it, not the way the decor magazines do. Because that same shelf where you proudly placed a cute porcelain figure might be the very reason Allah's protection is standing outside your door, unable to enter. Let's pause everything for a second. This video isn't here to make you paranoid. It's not here to turn your bedroom into a checklist of suspicions or to convince you that every item around you is cursed. That's not Islam. And that's definitely not the tone of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But you know what this is about? It's about intention, about awareness, about finally recognizing that your home, especially your bedroom, the most private space of your life, isn't just a place where you sleep. It's the space where your soul rests, where you cry, where you make dua in the dark, where you're most unfiltered with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, if there's even a small chance that something in that space could repel angels or invite the wrong kind of presence, why wouldn't we want to clear it? Now, let's address something important, especially about amulets and ta'weez. Yes, there are hadiths that warn us about them. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, "Whoever wears an amulet has committed shirk." But scholars have explained that this hadith is not blanket. It's about certain types of amulets, particularly those with unknown symbols, non-Quranic phrases, or those believed to protect independently of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If something contains clear Quranic ayahs, written in a proper, respectful manner by a trustworthy scholar or parent, and you believe the protection comes only from Allah, not from the object, then many scholars allowed it under certain guidelines. So no, not every ta'weez is shirk, but when done wrong, it's a dangerous gray area that opens doors we don't always see. So again, this video is not a fatwa, it's not an accusation, it's a wake-up call. Because let's be real, in a world full of spiritual confusion where manifestation and energy crystals are sold in the same aisle as prayer mats, we can't afford to be careless anymore. What enters our rooms can quietly start to shape what enters our hearts. That strange dream that won't go away, that sadness that keeps getting heavier, that feeling of being watched even when you're alone. Maybe it's not just stress. Maybe it's not just in your head. Maybe your room is saying something, and today, maybe you finally heard it. If this video gave you even one reminder, comment, "May Allah protect every home from hidden harm," below. And if you've ever experienced strange vibes, dreams, or something in your room that didn't sit right with your heart, share your story. You might help someone else finally make sense of what they've been feeling too. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It costs nothing, but helps us reach more people who are silently struggling in the dark. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.